Hey, Awesomes. How's it going? Welcome to week 6. It's midweek. It's Wednesday. Hope you're having a great week. I posted on Monday and sent you a message that I had posted this example right here of an awesome oral brief or oral briefing, whatever you want to call it. And so hopefully, most of your team members or whatever have had a chance to look at it. It's a really, 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 really fine example of not only one that hits all the points. Kind of the reason for that, and we're going to talk about that too in another video, is to make sure because what we don't want to do in an oral brief is spend too much time talking about the topic. There's a little bit of topic introduction, kind of what you're doing, but then you really kind of get into exploring credentials. You kind of you talk a little bit about, you write the charter and the team management, those exercises that you did prior to the oral briefing kind of set you up and put you in a really good position. Now you've got that information. So when you talk about accountability, or you talk about how the group's going to handle this, how you're going to communicate in your task schedule, right, or the project plan, or whatever. Those things you've kind of already started to think about. You have your weekly meetings together, right, in your teams. However you guys are deciding to do that. Then this oral briefing, this is when you get that opportunity to discuss those things. So now that we kind of talked a little bit about those last week, I'll talk a little bit more about them as we move forward this week. If you have any questions, but use that outline that I sent out. It's in the oral briefing assignment description, right? I highlighted it. I sent it to you last week in the week 5 overview page. I also sent it out as an announcement over the weekend. So look for that. Very, very specific things that you want to try to make sure that you address. And this week we're going to talk about kind of the presenting aspect of it. So Mark L. does a really good job in chapter 15 that we're reading this week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But for now, these are the highlights, if you will, the things that I really want you to kind of be thinking about. And I think that politeness and the politeness kind of demonstrates you have this really, really good organization between first speaker, second speaker, third speaker, fourth speaker, and then however many that you have. So extreme politeness is key. And this is kind of when I think about passing the mic, and I kind of use the example, students ask me, okay, what does that look like? What are you talking about? Kind of think about how journalists, reporters that are out in the field, or even when they're in the studio, they'll say, okay, hey, so-and-so is now with the weather. And then the weather person will then say, thank you, so-and-so, right? So there's this communication, there's a smooth transition. It's not jarring. So what I hopefully doesn't happen, I guess, is that one person speaks and comes up on the screen, and then when they're done, just another person pops up. You want to have this fluidity, this continuity that demonstrates that who spoke before you, what they spoke about, and then you pass it to the next person. That person then acknowledges the passing, right, and so forth and so on. And another thing that's really kind of challenging to do, especially now that we're doing this completely online, and I know it's hard, is like not to look down. Like if I'm looking down at myself in the camera right now, I'm not looking at you, right? My audience. So I have to kind of think about that as well. I'm staring at in my situation anyway. My little Chromebook here is a little blue light. So I've trained myself to kind of look at the blue light when I'm talking and imagine you guys, right? And I'm talking to you, right? My audience, make eye contact. And then things to think about with your PowerPoint, try to use the fewer words, the better. You don't want your audience to read every single thing. You want them, they can be able to follow along, use numbers or bullet points. If you're going to enumerate something, hey, the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is this, the second thing and third thing, if that's what you're saying, make sure it's reflected in the same way on your slides. And by using fewer words, we're not just reading a slide word for word. Try not to have any note cards. I understand that's a big ask on the very first one, but if you do need a note card or two or some prepared sentences ready to go, by all means, do what you need to do the first time. Practice ahead of time if you possibly can. Maybe use the note cards to where you get to the point where you feel that you're being a little bit more extemporaneous, right? You know what you're going to be saying and talking about, and then use the PowerPoint that you've got up on your screen or on the screen for your team as your guide to talk about the things, your points.